Okay.
Yes.
Well, why are you the right guy for the job?
I am the right guy for the job because, well, number one, I have a heart for the people. I'm interested in the city of Franklin to grow it tremendously. I have it's something that I don't want to do for popularity or for title and nothing of that nature. It's concentrating on the place where I was born, where I live, to develop it, to make it grow, and to make Franklin great again as it was back in the day.
Very good. Thank you, Linwood.
You're welcome.
Bobby, what do you see as the role of mayor in Franklin, and why should you?
The role of mayor in Franklin that I see is it's a ceremonial role. You're allowed to be a part of ribbon cuttings and welcoming new businesses and so forth. And the role of mayor should be setting a vision and a passion for what things need to be done in Franklin. If you've got to set the vision, you got to make the plan first. Creating a plan takes a lot of effort in talking to council and everybody getting together and agreeing on what the point of action should be. Therefore, when the plan is made, it's up to the council and the mayor. It's up to the mayor to kind of spearhead the whole thing, to make sure things are on track, to make sure you keep it orderly, to make sure the city manager can do her job to help and assist her as she's needed. If she's off track a little bit, the mayor should be responsible for help getting the team to pull it back together if we're off a little bit. There's just so many things. The mayor is one vote only. So the whole council has the same vote, one vote. Therefore, being the mayor, I would like to think that the true job is to keep it orderly, on point, and moving forward.
Okay. Why do you think you should be the one that gets that job?
Well, I think many years of experience in business, leading my teams over the years. I have sat on many boards, local, state, national. I've served the chamber as president. I've served the Virginia Automotive Association as president. I've been active all throughout the United States, so to speak. My heart is in Franklin. I was born here. I was raised here. I see the needs. I see the many needs that Franklin has. Do I think I can fix everything? No, it's no way one person can fix everything. I will do my utmost best. I will work with everybody, and I will do my point to create a plan and a vision.
Thanks, Bobby. You mentioned vision. We'll start with you on this next question. So if you think the mayor should have a strong vision and then help the team carry it out, why don't you just take a couple minutes and sort of give us a picture of what that vision is that you have for Franklin?
Well, I think the mayor should have a vision. I think the whole council should have a vision. I think we're all one team. But I do feel when the vision is laid out, I think everybody has to work together. My vision for Franklin is to continue the forward movement as we have had in the last few years. This council has worked good together. We've made a lot of good things happen, and there are things we haven't made happen yet. But it's moved forward in a rapid response with all of the growth we have throughout, and I just feel we're on the right track. I think our school systems really have to have a lot of work. We need to support them. We need to be planning ahead on how to get a new school or a modern restructure on our high schools and schools, and to make people want to be there and teachers want to be there. So we have so much to do. The poverty, our poverty level, people need affordable housing, homes, nice homes, places to call home that they can have ownership in. These are things that I see. Have we done a good job on this? My opinion, we've done the best we could at the time, but the time is now to move forward.
Very good. Linwood, what is your vision for the city?
Well, my vision for the city of Franklin is to move forward. We have worked on some things, and being on the council, I have made some recommendations of moving forward. One of the things that was mentioned about poverty, food deprivation, and hunger, basically, I developed a project. It's called the Food Bank, 618 South Street. That project is a $3 million project. The director and I sat down together, Dr. Ruth Jones Nichols and I sat down together and worked with that. We drove around, I selected that place, 618, because it was in the heart of the community, and it's needed. Not only it will serve basically not only the community of Franklin, but other communities outside of Franklin as well, for growth and development. Because we mentioned the school. Children can't go to school hungry, basically. They can't learn when they're hungry. That's why the backpack program has developed and so forth. But there are many programs to steer this city in the right direction and to get it back where it needs to be. Economic development. Basically, we've had the juice company to come in, with Wawa to come in. We have some more, but we need companies to come in that will pay money where people can get decent jobs to buy homes. That is important for the city of Franklin. Jobs. We need jobs, not only jobs. We need the transportation process. We're working now on getting bus transportation, rural bus transportation, not only for the city of Franklin, but Southampton County and Isle of Wight County.
Well, let me ask this question on that note. I'm sorry to step on your response there, but you've both hit on a couple of themes that are similar, and I think they're important. When I speak to people in Franklin, most people say the number one most pressing issue is our public schools. Everything stems from public education, attracting new employers, high-paying jobs, economic development. It all starts with the schools. For years now, Franklin has lagged behind the rest of the state significantly with educational outcomes. We routinely test close to last in the state, and it's become a major problem. Franklin schools were once first in class, and they're just not anymore. And I don't think it's for lack of effort, but there's something going on that's causing us to struggle in our public schools. Linwood, I'll start with you. What is it that we need to do to get our schools back on track?
There is, if I can give a correction, there's been some misinformation out there, and you can check with the high school principal of Franklin High. When the last school board meeting, he was giving an example of growth for the school. There are some things that need to be addressed, but those things that need to be addressed is in all of the schools about COVID, basically. But basically, Franklin schools will move forward because it's important for the school to move forward to get the right companies to come to the city of Franklin. If you don't have a good school system, they're not coming. And then housing is another situation. You have to have a good school system, good housing. Those are two attractive things that will draw companies, CEOs and their families, the kids go to school. That is important because if you don't have that, you have nothing. Now, Franklin is not at the bottom of the list. I'm an advocate of the schools to do what we need to do to get it done, not only developing the schools that are old and we need a new school, but to move forward with education. Now, a lot of talk has been going around in the city about the schools, but basically you have to realize, first of all, education is very difficult. Very difficult. But basically, and with COVID has not helped education. And then if you look at education, you have to look at the economic situation of poverty and so forth. You have to look at the teachers having control in the classroom. That's important. The mindset has to be teamwork of moving together, like the city council and the school and the school division.
Improving the relationship between the city government and the schools. Bobby, what do you think? What needs to be done to get the schools back on track? What would you suggest are the top items that need to be addressed?
Well, that's a very deep subject. To get the schools back on track, I think you would have to do it just like you would any other organization or business. I think it starts at the top. Everybody's got to believe in who they're working for. The school board and the city council needs a much better working relationship on a regular basis. The teachers, they need to believe that they are appreciated. The pay scales and stuff needs to be able to reach up to where they're getting what they deserve. Is it hard to find money? Yes, it's always hard to find money, but there are always ways. I do feel like Franklin is a good school. I graduated from Franklin, and I did not go to college. That was my choice. I had an opportunity, but I think Franklin is broke, but it's not tragic.
But what do we do to fix it? Well, I think we all acknowledge, and you've both acknowledged, okay, that there are issues.
Well,
okay, so I think what's important to address is what are the primary issues that are causing Franklin to lag behind in terms of educational outcomes. I'm not talking about the effort. I'm not talking about the appreciation that we give to employees or how hard people are working. But the fact of the matter is educational outcomes in Franklin City Public Schools lag far behind the state average and typically rank among the lowest in the state. That's factual. That's based on information provided by the Virginia Department of Education every year. So that's not an objective. It is objective. What do we do to fix the problem we have in our schools with lagging educational outcomes?
Well, Tony, I really feel like a lot of it should start at home. The helping the children, the students with their homework and stuff like that. I can't pinpoint what it's going to take to totally fix it. What I would see if it was a business, I would take it and go in there and say, okay, we have a problem. How are we going to address it? Are we going to have somebody to tutor these students on a backup? How are we going to really work it? We're going to address where the problems are. We're going to attack it head on. It's got to be through teachers and parents and the school board. The school board they've got to hold them accountable as much as anything else. If the council has a problem, we stay together and we try to work through it. The school board has to do the exact same thing. The students need help. They need to make sure they're getting what they need. And the students have got to attend. A lot of times some of our problems, we're low on attendance at times. That's one of our credibility problems. Everybody's got to want to be a part, and they got to want to get up and go to school. They got to want to advance. They got to find themselves, and they got to step out of the box and get it done.
Guys, unfortunately, this discussion on public schools is one that we could use the entire hour for,
and
that still wouldn't be enough time. And in fairness to the other topics that we need to cover, but I want to stay here for a minute.
Yes.
Okay, on this general topic. And Bobby, I'll give this to you first, since we're going back and forth. You mentioned the relationship between city council and the school board. Okay. On election day, your neighbors in Southampton County will be voting on a ballot referendum to decide whether or not they want to move to an elected school board versus appointed. Now, again, for the benefit of some of our listeners who may not be aware, the school board in the city of Franklin is actually appointed by city council. Is city council doing a good enough job appointing the school board? And should it be city council's responsibility anymore to appoint the school board, or should we have an elected school board in the city of Franklin, Bobby?
My honest opinion, sitting on council for 5 years and being a part of interview processes and stuff for people that are, nominated to be on school board. My answer is no. School board don't get enough information. They don't know the people well enough. the city council does not know the people well enough. I'm sorry. But my opinion is, and I've given this a lot of thought, and I've never made it publicly, but I personally would like an elected school board.
Okay.
I would, because the people could have the choice, and they could hold accountability stronger than the city council, because the city council can only talk to the person really that's in the ward they're in, and the mayor can talk to them. The city council has no rights whatsoever to go and hold a school board member responsible and say, you're not doing your job, you're going to have to go. The whole school board would have to be removed. You can't punish a whole school board.
We've done it before.
They have. I wasn't there.
We've done it before. It was not a pretty process, but it's happened, and that's not something
good.
we want to see repeated. I don't think.
I think the residents and could hold people accountable a lot more, and they know what the people do.
Linwood, what do you think on this topic?
I see it just a little differently. I've looked at it from both sides. Basically, one side is if you have an elected school board, then the city council has no control over what the school board does, because we are still funding a part of the school. And so to build a relationship with them, a workable relationship, is very important for growth and development. Now, the other part, if you have an elected school board, then you cannot remove the school board. They would have to be voted out because they were voted in by the people, basically. And you want some control, basically, if you're giving out money to the school system. You want control where you sit down, you develop a plan, because if I can go back to one of the points that we mentioned, absenteeism is very important. Is very important to address for growth and development with the schools. Not only that, but a proper mindset, and that proper mindset starts not only at the top, but and when I say the top, it starts with the parents as well as the school system working together to develop that.
But to be clear, and just I just want to clarify something. You made a comment a moment ago about control over the school board. While it's true that the city council does allocate funding to the school board, once that money has been allocated, city council has no more say or control whatsoever on how that money is spent or what decisions the school board makes. So the question then becomes, how currently in the current system, what sort of control does city council have over the school board?
Well, basically, and when I say control, don't misunderstand me. Basically, it means, after we allocate the money, we have no control over that. But building a wholesome relationship that works together as to see the funds spent. But the other part is, and I'm going to go back to several years because I was on the council when we removed the school board and we got a new school board. And that was an issue that we had to do and to take responsibility, because the buck stops with city council, even as to what the schools do. The buck still stops with city council. And what we decided to do was formulate a new school board that would work properly and beneficially to move forward.
And I just want to add some clarification to that, yes, because about the situation that you're referring to. Again, to reiterate the point that city council doesn't actually have that authority over the school board. The mayor and city council at the time demanded the resignation of the school board, and they gave it. But city council actually had no statutory authority whatsoever to actually remove the school board. I just want to make that clear. It's we might be arguing semantics, but I think they're important semantics because the school board resigned. It was not removed.
Yes, the school board resigned. They were not removed, but it's basically the same thing, because we did.
The end result was the same, but the end result was the same, but the methodology is different, and I think that's the important distinction between having an appointed versus an elected school board.
But the other part to that was legally, city council could have taken action, basically, and removed the school board. That
would have required legal action, though. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yes,
you're absolutely right.
Required legal action.
Well, as I said, I regret we should probably do a separate forum just on public education.
Yes.
And in the spirit of not being able to take up the entire hour with just public schools, I'm gonna force us to move on to a different topic. And I hope you guys both feel like you had equal opportunity to respond to those questions. But I thank you for doing that. I want to ask each one of you. Now I've lost track. I think Linwood, it's your turn to go first this time. I think.
Okay.
Separate from public education, what would you say is the single most pressing issue facing the city of Franklin, and what would you propose specifically to do about it?
Well, there is probably more than one. We just can't.
I know.
Capulate it.
What's number one? What is the single most pressing issue?
Well, one is jobs, job development, where individuals get decent salaries, where they can buy homes, take care of their families. One of the other ones, economically, is people are struggling to pay their bills. Some people in the city of Franklin, basically, and if you have the electrical, what the people refer to it as, light bill.
If you will do me the honor of holding on to that issue, because I have plans for that issue separately.
Okay.
Go back to the first one. So we were talking about jobs and income. If that is your primary issue, what specifically would you propose we do to create those high-paying jobs in the city of Franklin?
Well, in order to create the high-paying jobs, we have to get government companies in, as well as major companies in to the city to develop a type of job. For instance, Union Camp. Let's go back a few years. Union Camp was the pulse and the blood of the city of Franklin. That was it. They employed people in Franklin, North Carolina, and other areas. We need companies like that, the pulse and the blood of the city. Once Union Camp closed and it picked up IP, it's a whole different scenario. And part of that, we were getting energy from Union Camp as well, for the electrical part. I'm going back there a little bit.
I'm going to make you go away from it because we're going to come back to it.
Right. But basically, we need companies. What happened, the founding fathers of the city got comfortable. We had Union Camp. We had one big whale we were depending on. Instead of having 12 dolphins to depend on, multiple companies to depend on, because when one company goes down, then that's it. Individuals, just like a coal, you take Martinsville, same way, different other cities, because I work with cities like that. When major corporations move out, poverty sets in.
Bobby, same question to you. The single most pressing issue in your mind facing the city of Franklin, and what would you propose specifically to do about it?
Well, as my mind sits here and rambles on, there's so many problems that I see in the city of Franklin. It's hard to identify just one.
I'm gonna stick to it. I'm gonna make you do it too.
But my biggest thought on the number one issue facing the city of Franklin is everybody coming together. That's the number one issue I see with the city of Franklin. I think everybody needs to tear down the barriers, unite, and get together, and we can make a lot of great things happen. If we're all on the same page, we can work through many problems, not just one. You've asked me for one problem.
So unity. So what I'm hearing you say is that unity civic unity is the single most pressing issue that we face in Franklin. And if that's the case,
in my heart and in my mind, yes, sir.
If that's what you believe is
that's
the answer, then that's the answer.
That's
my question
answer.
is then, as I proposed to your opponent, what are you going to do about it?
Well, I think working together as we do and move forward to have more town meetings. I think we should have at least 2 to 3 a year. I think we should have the town meetings and hear the people. I think we should do more than hear the people. I think we need to identify the needs of the people in Franklin. We can listen to each other. We can come together. It don't matter whether you're rich or you're poor. It don't matter. We can come together and work together, and we can solve all problems, not one. I think Henry Ford kind of said it best. He said, coming together is the beginning. Keeping together is success. Working together is success.
Okay. Next issue I want us to talk about a little bit is crime in the city. And Bobby, it's your turn to start first. What do you give us your assessment of what you think the situation is pertaining to crime in the city, and what do we do? What steps do we take to curtail some of the challenges that we face there?
Well, honestly, I think we're on track. We've made great strides in Franklin over the last few years. I think Chief Patterson and his staff is doing a wonderful job. I know most of what I hear and what I see. A lot of it is gang related, and you step out, and I know that they're working and addressing the issues. In order to address that, in the areas we've improved lighting, not say we don't need to do more improvements, more cameras. Be nice to have more police officers too on the streets. That would be great. We just got to constantly find the ways to make it happen. And the people, the communities that have community watch, or they got to be more proactive. But I've seen great strides in it, so I'm not going to beat it up. Do we have a ways to go? Yes, sir. We got a ways to go, but we can't stop and let our guard down.
Linwood?
Well, I'm down in the trenches every day, basically, when it comes down to crime in communities. I'm a community activist. Basically, I've talked with gang members. I've talked with individuals. I stopped by the basketball courts. Crime is something that happens in all cities, no matter what the amount, the number of the population of the city is. It's just the magnitude. I've talked with the mayor of Norfolk. They have crimes. I've talked to the mayor of Virginia Beach, Portsmouth. Everybody has crime. One of the most important things is changing the mindset. And in order to do that, you have to come from behind your desk. You have to get out in the street. You have to talk to people. You have to make sure that people know who you are and you know the people. Once it's sort of a village type thing for the whole city. Once, just like Chief Patterson is doing, talking with the people in the community, when you build that trust is important, because when something happens, then they go in, instead of everybody being hush-hush, someone will be able to tell the story, and you can get the crime solved. That is important, building trust in the community, because if you don't build trust in the mindset of a good community, crime is going to prevail all the time. And the second thing is looking out for your neighbor. That's important, that everyone is neighborly, everyone works together, everyone gets together. I know back in the day when I was growing up in the city of Franklin, the entire community, all of the communities worked together. It was not a thing of black, white, blue, or green. Everybody worked together. You had 37 black businesses downtown here in the city of Franklin. You had other businesses. Everybody worked together. That is the spirit of the city of Franklin. We have to revive that spirit of the city of Franklin, because people are people at the end of the day. If you cut them, they're going to bleed red blood. It's not green, purple, or yellow. People are people. And when you have a mindset of respecting people, you respect one another and move forward, you're going to grow. Crime is going to diminish. Everything else is going to diminish. Why? Because you respect people and you have that respect.
And I think we've probably found the one area where we both have complete and total agreement from both of you, is that community unity is the solution to many a problem.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Very good. Let's move on. Linwood, you get to start first with this one. I've made you wait long enough.
Okay.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about utility bills in the city of Franklin. Now, I want to preface this by injecting some personal observation. Okay, which as a good forum moderator, I probably shouldn't do, but I'm going to anyway. Okay. So over the past decade or so, back when I was a publisher of a local newspaper here in Franklin, about a decade or so ago, utility bills in the city became a topic of discussion, and there was some concern that either there were improper billing systems in place, there was some disparity in how people were billed between the rates that people were being charged, and some people were paying exorbitantly high utility bills and others were not. That having been said, to my knowledge, not a single piece of evidence over the past decade has been given to indicate the fact that there is a disparity in either billing or the electrical system itself. Why do utility bills in Franklin continue to be such a topic of conversation? And what in the world do we do about it finally once and for all?
Okay, Tony, I've been chomping at the bit.
I know you have. Go ahead. I'm gonna cut you loose for a couple minutes here.
Okay. I led the march against that before I was on city council, because Franklin was being bombarded and there was a lot of people who couldn't pay their electrical bills, or they had to make a choice between the electrical bill and their medical bill or their grocery bill. And if we don't watch it, it's getting back to that again, basically. But I know we worked on checking the meters. We've changed the meters 3, 4, 5 times and so forth. But basically, one of the most important things is we have not raised the rates, but people are still having difficulty paying their electrical bills. Now,
I want to ask you a question here.
Yes.
Okay, this is going to be the topic where you and I get into it a little bit, probably. And I'm hoping to find one with Bobby here.
Come on with it.
Okay, so
I'm ready.
Here's my question. I know you're ready. Here's my question. You've mentioned several times, in fairness, that people are they're facing difficult economic decisions.
Yes.
Do I pay my power bill? Do I pay for my medication? Do I buy food?
Yes.
Do I feed my children? Do I keep the house warm? Mm-hmm. Okay. Is the utility issue in Franklin really an issue with the utility system itself, or economic instability that's causing people to have to make difficult decisions? Is the issue really the cost of the electricity, or the lack of funds to pay all of one's bills? Because that's really two separate, they're two different things.
I want you to go back and just tell me more. Mention the first part of that statement.
Okay.
Yes. And let me work with that.
Okay.
Gladly. That for you.
Gladly. I gave you a mouthful there.
Yes. Yes.
You mentioned that people
Let's
have a
take it in
difficulty
pieces.
have a difficult time choosing between, in this example, their utility bill and food, or utility bill and medication.
Yes.
Is it a matter of economic instability, or is it because the utility bills are actually too high?
Both.
How so? Because not a single shred of evidence has ever been provided, to my knowledge, that there is any sort of inequality within the Franklin utility system whatsoever. There's not been one shred of evidence that's ever been given to me that I've ever seen, and I've investigated this over a number of years pretty thoroughly. What evidence do you have to support the thought that there is imbalance in the Franklin utility billing system?
Well, let me deal with imbalance, then I come back to the economical part. Imbalance. If I go on vacation and stay for 30 days or 45 days, and I come back and receive a utility bill that is worth, say, I'm going to say $600, and I've been receiving that same utility bill when I'm at home, the $600, something is wrong with that picture. Our grid needs to be upgraded. Our grid is old. Our utility system is old. When the wind came through, the poles went down. But not only that, there's a transition from the pole to the house. Basically, you have to make sure those things are working properly because, and it's a fact, I have investigated that, those things need to be handled. We need the funds to develop and rebuild our system. And as I talk further, I have a new idea for that to reduce that.
Will you hang on to that thought?
Yes,
will you
yes,
hang
I
on to that idea for a second? Because I want to give Bobby a chance to respond to the same question, but then I want to follow up with something that we're currently talking about with utilities in the system. Bobby, why are we still talking about utility bills in Franklin? What's going on?
Well, I think everything in the whole country is high and gotten outrageous and everything. Grocery stores.
But this has been going on now for 10 years. This has been going on, this conversation for 10 years in Franklin specifically.
The city council has not raised rates in 4 years. We have just passed on a charge, if I'm correct, of 2% of a fee from Dominion.
For the record, Councilman Johnson is nodding. Yes.
But we have done our part to keep it down. One person cannot reduce the electric bills. It will take the efforts of council, and it will have to be done before budget to budget how we want to do it. My personal thoughts, I've always wondered myself, I pay some outrageous electric bills, businesses, home, whatever. It looks astronomical to me. We have had companies come in and do audits. They have checked the meters. They have checked everything, and we've paid them huge amounts of money to tell us it's okay. Is it okay? I don't know. It's weird because you hear it so much, and I see it at home. And I will agree with what Mr. Johnson just said about you can go off and come home and get pretty much the same bill. I think the trash and water needs to be a separate bill. I think you need to see what you're getting straight up. It's even crossed my mind, does the city really need to be an electric business?
That's okay. Pause right there because now you're getting ready to steal my thunder on my next question.
Okay.
I'm going to start there, but I just want to come back to a final point. And I want to make sure that I get clarification from both of you on this. It has been alleged and I have to ask this question because it's been out there for the better part of a decade now. It has been alleged by some in the city of Franklin that residents in different parts of the city are assessed at different rates, and some people's bills are disproportionately higher than others. Do you, Bobby, do you believe that to be the case?
No,
yes
sir.
or no?
No, sir. I do not.
Okay. Linwood, do you believe that to be the case?
I'm going to say not the rates are not higher. If you look at the housing, we have to add housing into this, our housing stock, our housing market, because a lot of housing market where the light bills are high, there's not proper installation, winterization is not done properly. All of those things you have to take into account.
Yes, you do. I agree with you. Yes. Just to be clear, what you just said, I agree with 100%. Okay, I believe that there is probably a disparity in the quality of housing in this city that creates higher utility bills for some residents versus others. But to be clear, are you saying that is any result, the disparity in those efficiencies Does that have anything to do with the utility company, the billing system, or does it have to do with the quality of housing that people are in?
Well, there's two. Well, the billing system, basically, because I've dealt with some cases and helped some clients, basically, where the billing system was off, basically, and they had, we got it straight, basically, because...
And just on that, Bob, is it fair to say, both of you, that there are glitches in any billing system with any utility, no matter where you live, and it affects... randomly affects people proportionally over the entire city and not necessarily one neighborhood. I think that's what I'm getting at.
Well, and even the system.
Okay.
Even the system.
Let's talk about this. So what I'm hearing then is no, just yes or no for me so I can put a nail in this coffin. Yes or no does the disparity in utility prices have to do with the system itself or the quality of the housing and the efficiency of the home that you're trying to heat?
Yes.
Okay. So, yes, it's the disparity in housing, or yes, it's the utility system?
I think it's both.
Okay. Let's move on. We could stay here for a while, but we need to move on. But I do sort of want to stay in the same neighborhood, which is the utility system itself. And Bobby, you touched on this a little bit, but it's Linwood's turn to go first. So let me ask you this question. Should the city of Franklin be in the utility business in the first place, yes or no? And by that I mean, to clarify, Franklin Power and Light is a utility grid that is owned and operated by the city of Franklin.
Correct.
Okay. Should the city of Franklin continue to own and operate its own power utility? Yes or no?
I would say at some point we need to get out of the utility business. But if we're going to stay in the utility business, then the system that we're using with Dominion has to be changed because the gas and everything is too high. We need a solar system, basically, which I have talked with companies, a solar system that we could do that would save people money, save residents money, save commercial businesses money, and it would be a win-win situation. If that's not done, then I would say we need to get out of it. But when we get out of it, there's a certain amount of funding that has to be replaced, because if you take some money away out of the budget, where is that money going to come from? So basically, that's another part. When it was developed in the beginning, when we went into the business, which I don't think we should have gone into the business in the beginning, basically it was a fund, but we were getting, if I go back to Union Camp was funding part of the power for the city of Franklin, and that's why the rates were lower, and we were getting it from Union Camp and not Dominion, a lot of it.
I want to add, you just made a really good point,
yes.
And I want to add some context for our listeners. When you said that the utility actually provides some money to the city. So it is a fact that the Franklin Power and Light is essentially not technically, but it's essentially a for-profit entity, and the profit that's made by Franklin Power and Light actually goes to the general fund in the city of Franklin to help offset costs and helps offset additional tax revenues that would have to be generated were it not for that revenue from Franklin Power and Light. You both, is that a fair assessment? Both of you, would you agree?
Yeah. Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Okay. So we can't have our cake and eat it too. We can't say that utility bills are too high. We need to get rid of the utility system, but then we're going to have to replace that revenue and raise taxes. So do you want it in tax rate? Do you want it in utility cost? What are we going to do here, Bobby? I'm going to shift this one over to you.
Well, you just asked me the billion-dollar question.
Yep.
What are we going to do? Well, I thought about it several times as a business person. I won't speak as a council person nor a candidate for mayor. I feel like you have to have it analyzed. If we are in line with other utility companies around the state, if we are in line on our fees and our rates and everything is fine, being into electric business is okay because the city needs the funds. The funds fund the school. The funds fund everything here, the infrastructure, everything. So the tax money would have to, the rates would go up. So as a business person, I'm saying, yeah, I would want to analyze that business, and I will analyze it. I'll have it done. I'll push for it. I'll fight for it. If we are in line, it's like everything else is going up because we haven't passed the cost. If we're out of line, it needs to be made known. If it's a win-win to get out of the electric business, now I'll speak as a candidate. I would rather just be running the business of the city and not having to run the business of the electric department as a mayor, because I could move forward so much faster with other things that are stagnant and need to go. But if it is the resource to fund and help fund our city, and it is competitive rates, which we as council have been shown multiple times, and I wish I had the sheet in front of me, localities around the state of Virginia. We are in line with other localities that have their own electric departments. Now that's a proven statement. Am I correct? Okay.
Yes.
All right. But when we go there, it is a painful thing to get an electric bill out of the box for $700 to $800. Businesses trying to run, and I can speak for one business in town that I'm invested in, and the electric bill's like $3,000 a month, more than the rent. I mean, it is tough. So, but is it the answer to get out of the business? I don't think I'm qualified to make that assessment, but I think I'm fair enough to say it needs to be made.
So this topic, this conversation has been had with council members for several years now. Mm-hmm. And I've had it both on and off the record at the newspaper with city council members, and they said we need to investigate this. We need to figure out we need to do the math and figure out if this utility system is something that's viable for us long term. Yeah. However, nobody ever does it. So let me ask you both this right now on the record. This is a yes or no question for both of you. Okay, Bobby, you've already given yours, but I want to just to be fair. If you're elected mayor, do you pledge that within your first year there will be a thorough study done on the economic viability of Franklin Power and Light?
Yes, sir. You have my word.
Linwood? If you're elected mayor, will there be an economic assessment done of Franklin Power and Light within your first year?
Yes. Well, elected mayor, which is a meritorial question that I would like to delve into.
Okay. For purposes of this topic, though, if you get the job, are we going to have an economic assessment of Franklin Power and Light?
Yes. Not only economic assessment of Franklin Power and Light, I would like to take it to another level because I have companies that I've talked with where we can divert it into solar, and where the city can make money and the rate can be reduced, and where there will not be enormous electrical rates, and the city of Franklin will make money as well and still move forward.
If I'm not mistaken, somebody's already raised the prospect of a solar city in Franklin.
No. I'm not talking about that.
Okay.
I have a different plan. Okay. If you want to know my plan, we'll have to do it another time. But this plan works because it's working in other cities.
I'll tell you what, let's do this. We're getting close to having a wrap up here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I want to kind of throw the barn door open for a couple minutes, and give each one of you, I'm not going to ask you a question specifically. Give me a couple minutes on ideas that you have that we haven't specifically delved into here on ways to improve the city of Franklin. Okay, why don't you talk about your solar plan, because I think it's worthy of discussion, given the nature of the things we just went through. Talk a little bit about your plans for solar.
Okay, the solar plan is the laws have passed in Virginia where municipalities can buy, they can generate electricity themselves. For instance, you have the airport, you have city buildings, you have other buildings that the city can create electricity, be in the business to sell electricity back to the grid, back to Dominion, and lower. Solar is going to be cheaper, if I can use that word, cheaper than what we're using now.
Are you recommending some sort of city-owned solar farm?
Well, not only
for purposes of simplicity.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Not only solar, but on top of the buildings as well, because cities are doing that, corporations are doing that, and they're making tons of money doing just that.
Okay.
So it's not a thing of something that will not work. It's workable,
Okay.
and it's working now.
You got about 60 more seconds, Linwood.
Okay.
What else you want to talk about? Is there anything else you want to throw out there?
Yes. Moving forward with the city, the transportation, bus transportation, you have communication, which is broadband, but making sure that our citizens are safe, making sure we are moving our citizens in the right direction, making Franklin great again by economic growth, because there's lots of federal money out there to move this city forward.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Bobby, 2 minutes. What are you going to do to make the city great again? What's your plan? What haven't we talked about that you want to get off your chest?
I feel like we just come together and work together, keep going, keep pushing, have the opportunity to find out all the options from the power company. What are the options that are available throughout the country that are being used? When you talk about looking at all these kind of things in the electric company, you're talking about another major investment. An investment costs a lot of money. I would like to know the return on investment, how long it would take to pay it down to where the taxpayers could actually see a difference, or the residents could see a difference in their light bills. There's a lot to analyze. Sometimes things look beautiful, but you have to be careful for what you wish for. So I would like to have a full synopsis of what's out there.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add?
The only thing I would say is I've been here all my life. I love Franklin, and I will do my utmost best to serve everyone equally.
Gentlemen, I would like to thank you both for your time. I'd like to say that I think you both have a heart for service. I believe in my heart that you both want what's best for Franklin. I think we've done a pretty good job over the last hour thanks to your transparency and willingness to discuss these issues. I think that we've got a couple of different options for the citizens of Franklin come November 8th. But that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So I want to thank you both for taking the time to sit down with us today. That was an hour that went by much more quickly than I think any of us expected it to. We probably could have used another hour and covered just as much ground.
Oh, yes.
I wish we had more time before Election Day, which is on Tuesday, November 8th, but we don't. So I would like to say again, thank you to Mr. Linwood Johnson, Mr. Bobby Cutchins. Thank you both for your time, your dedication to this city. I would like to wish you both the best of luck.
Thank you,
moving
Tony.
forward.
Thank you as well. Thank
Absolutely.
You
It's been my pleasure. And so there you go, folks. That is our 2022 mayoral candidate forum. You've had an opportunity to listen to both of the candidates on a range of issues. We hope that it's been informative and that it will help you make a more informed decision on Election Day, November 8th. But just remember, no matter what you do, go out and vote for one of these two gentlemen. Vote for the future of Franklin. Whatever you think that vision, whichever one of those two visions best fits yours, go get out and let your voice be heard. Again, my name is Tony Clark. I'd like to thank you for joining us for this last hour, and I wish you a good evening.